I'm Dani Walker. Welcome to my Miss Puerto Rico Universe recap. If you're new, please subscribe and hit that notifications bell. And if you're watching on a mobile device, make sure that you screenshot this, post it in an Instagram story, and tag me at Dani Walker with your thoughts. First of all, I did not follow the contestants for this pageant like I did for Miss Philippines Universe. This pageant really snuck up on me. I had no idea who they were going to announce for a top 15, completely clueless. Other than the winner, because I spoiled it and I saw it on Instagram, which was just not good. I love at the beginning of the show that they featured all of the contestants in their swimsuits in a sort of music video type situation. That was stunning. Great camera angles, great slow motion shots, underwater shots. It was just so glamorous, and I can't help but imagine that that must have been a really fun day for all of the girls. Why didn't I get to do that at Miss USA? Loved the swimsuits for that video, and I also loved the swimsuits for the preliminary competition. I do not know who made those swimsuits. If you know, please comment below, because those are so cute and I need to check them out. Other than that, I felt like the show was really long. Please explain this to me in the comments. Is this because it's similar to Miss Philippines Universe, where they take a really long time deliberating who the title holder is going to be? Is that the reason, or do you think it's more for sponsors? Because I could not follow. I don't speak Spanish, so I really wasn't sure. I liked all the shots with the girls. I just thought that they spent a little bit too much time backstage in those green room type shots where they're getting commentary from other people on the show. One thing that surprised me and disappointed me in this show was the lack of participation that our beautiful reigning title holder had in the show. I wanted to see her so much more. I wish that she would have been backstage for all of those green room interviews, or backstage interviewing the contestants. I would have loved to see her participate so much more in her own finale, and I don't understand the reasoning behind that, especially since she was top 5 at Miss Universe. I don't understand why she wouldn't have a bigger part in the overall show. First cut of the night, top 15 for swim. I don't even really have notes for swim. I was trying to find the differences between the contestants, whether that was confidence or walk or turns, whatever it was. These girls were so tightly matched overall. Bravo, ladies, you made it really difficult for the judges. If I was a judge, I would be sitting there and just thinking, well, how am I supposed to judge her? Am I supposed to score down if a girl didn't perfectly exit her spin turn and she wavered slightly? How in the world were the judges judging top 15 to 10? The interview had to have weighed heavily because the girls were so great, like I said, overall in swimsuit, that I would have had a very difficult time. And I think that when the girls are so tightly matched like that, what it comes down to is facial beauty and styling. One thing I want to note is that Fabiola slightly moved her hair out of her face, and I want to tell the ladies out there who are contestants, that's okay to do. If your hair is stuck in your face at a pageant, don't continue to walk on stage with half of your hair in your face. It's okay to calmly and sort of smoothly get the hair out of your face. I have seen some contestants actually choreograph into their routine for onstage swim a hair toss or a hair flip. Personally, I think that's crazy. The only time I would be touching my hair on stage like that is really if it's in the way of my face. The only person I've really seen do that successfully, though, like the whole moving the hair, is Catriona, but I don't feel like her moving her hair was so much hair is in my face. It was more, hey, I'm moving my hair, check out this earring that represents the sun of the Philippines. I'm pretty sure that that's correct. It had symbolic meaning, her ear cuff. And I know everybody's gonna comment and correct me on what it meant. It's fine. Now, the top 10. I have notes. The first thing I'll say is I liked the clips that they showed of the girls that were placing in the top 10. I thought it was fun. I barely understand any Spanish, so they were pretty much talking about thank you so much. They were thanking people, how grateful they were to make the top 10 and move forward and hopefully represent Puerto Rico at Miss Universe. I liked that nothing was super forced. It didn't have to be a sob story. It didn't have to be super branded or anything like that. It was just another opportunity to hear from the girls in a really fun way. The girls were all sort of making faces and having fun with it. Viviani actually used sign language, which I thought was a really cool way to showcase just a different skill that she has. I personally loved that. Viviani, for her, I felt sad that her dress was literally the same color as the background at the pageant, and it just did not stand out. When I saw the dress later in the show, when the colors had changed on stage, I began to appreciate the actual style and coloring of the dress and understood why she would pick something like that. But when she came out in gown, it really was not working for me. And also, she did this head flip when she turned around and faced the judges, and I thought it was just a little too intense. I like that there was smoke on the ground, that they put the fog. It just reminded me of walking on the clouds and being really dreamy. So I thought that was kind of a fun effect. I've never seen that at a pageant for gown. Estefania, she wore a red gown and she did an open leg pose at the end. Very Angelina Jolie, right? That open leg pose, which I didn't hate, but I also didn't love it. And when I saw her later standing in a closed leg pose, I thought it was just more complimentary for the dress, but whatever, she still made it to the top 3. Rebecca, she was great, but my one complaint for gown is I wish she would have angled herself slightly to the side instead of dead straight when she finished that last pose in front of the judges. I feel like whenever girls pose straight on, it just makes you look really square. That's a personal preference. Veronica, she really worked the poses and the camera and the face. Killed it for gown. Loved her for gown. I really loved Hazel's yellow gown. Granted, it was pretty pageanty. It wasn't like something that we've never seen before, but the strap was really pretty. I liked her hair pulled to the side. I liked her hair waved. It looked really beautiful. I also liked that her video clip before gown when she was announced had the same waved hair. She was really consistent in that way, and I liked that. It just, for me personally, helped to make her a little bit more memorable. When Ivana walked out, her dress immediately reminded me of my Fernando Wong dress. So what a lot of you don't know about my Miss Montana USA gown is that the original side lace panels were supposed to be sheer just like Ivana's. Her dress had a low neck drop. But when I was competing for Miss Montana USA, we had rules for our evening gown, so it was very difficult for me to find a dress that fit into those rules. We weren't allowed to have a low dropped neck or low dropped back. We couldn't have sheer panels. So that's why my dress had the high halter and why the panels were filled in with nude fabric, even though that's not the original design of the dress. But when she came out in that dress, I thought she stunned in it, and it really complimented her body. I liked her sleek straight hair with it. She was so statuesque in that white gown. Tanya made me nervous coming out in that blue dress. Ooh! I just thought there was a nip slip about to happen on the side and then also on the top. I just wanted just a little bit more coverage because I was so nervous watching her the entire time for gown. I really could not pay attention to her for gown, so I got super distracted by that. But clearly she did pretty well because she moved on. I am not even gonna try to pronounce Loaza's name because I know I'm gonna butcher it today. I didn't like her hairstyling with the gown. I thought that it reminded me of our winner for Miss Universe 2000. It just reminded me of that late 90s sort of prom updo, so I wasn't a fan of that, and I really wish we would have seen different styling for her hair. Fabiola, stunning, looked great in white. Interesting how that halter neckline with her height and with her proportions made her look even taller. I loved it. Madison obviously did very well in gown. What I liked was that the audience was loving her and she reacted to that just like Gazini did at Philippines Universe. That's something important to watch and to note. She was also very present every time they lined up the contestants and they were narrowing down the numbers. She seemed very present in all of those moments. She wasn't too stiff. She didn't look too stressed out. She looked like she was living presently in that moment. And you have to remember that when you're a judge, you're not just seeing the camera angles, you're seeing those girls right in front of you. So I think that those little moments actually are able to influence judges, which is why I created a course for how to stand out in 30 seconds, which touches on all of those things. And that's on my website, DaniWalkerOfficial.com, for all of you who really want to work on those fine-tuning aspects of being on stage. Fortunately, halfway through watching the pageant, my friend Stephanie came over and she speaks Spanish, so she was helping to translate some of these questions. These are very lightly translated questions from the top 6, so bear with me. This is gonna be rough. Estefania, she was basically asked if she believes that women have achieved gender equality today, and she pretty much said that men have been very privileged in history, and that because of activism within our current generation that we're making strides, but we still have a long way to go. She pretty much answered it. I think it was a very safe answer, but it was well spoken, so really no complaints there. Good job. Fabiola was asked a question about the recent hurricane and government funding, sort of where she thinks it should go. Once again, it was a very safe answer. She talked about the loss of food and homes and family members, and it seemed to really strike a chord in her, and not in a good way. She started getting a very harsh facial expression, and I think it's important as a title holder that even when something does strike a chord inside of you, you still have to maintain your composure and remember that you're representing your country, a brand, an organization, whatever it is. You have to keep that in mind when judges are evaluating an onstage question and answer. They're also paying attention to not only what you're saying, but how you're saying it. Now let's talk about our winner, Madison. I was very shocked to hear the audience booing her. Well, not shocked about that. It was sort of like a Mean Girls moment.
She doesn't even go here.
Do you even go to this school?
No.
Okay, go home.
She heard the question, didn't quite understand it, and then she said that, hey, Spanish isn't my first language, which upset the audience, which I understand because you want to represent a country that primarily speaks Spanish. The question, though, was in regards to tourism and the benefits of that to the country, and she basically just reiterated the question and said that Puerto Rico is a beautiful country and that tourism helps economically, which it's good, it's not bad. But what wasn't really important or impressive about her answer was that she still maintained her composure even when the audience was booing her. And that's not easy to do. So pay really close attention to how she was handling those boos, and honestly I think it ended up helping her because it showed how composed she can remain under pressure. So it kind of worked in her advantage in my opinion. Backstory, Madison was first runner-up in Miss Florida USA 2019 this year. Comment below what you guys know about this. I am confused. I don't know where she was born. I would assume that she was born in the United States because she does not speak Spanish as her primary language, and that somehow she has residency in Puerto Rico. The most impressive answer, I thought, in the top 6 went to Tanya, and she was asked about if she were to win, she would be this social influencer, and basically what cause would she want to represent. And she referenced Alzheimer's because she said it was, I believe, once again, translations, I believe it was the 3rd highest death in Puerto Rico, and she believes it's not being really addressed and the appropriate resources are not being given to the people or the families that are affected by it, and she would want to use her voice to address that issue within her country. Loved it. I love that it was specific. I love that it actually tied into her country. I love that she knew something about it. That was brilliant to me. And I thought that that answer, and even the way she answered it, would have landed her a spot in the top 3. I'm not sure what happened. Comment below if you thought the same thing. Rebecca was asked about the most significant change in her country within the last 3 years. She was really nervous, sort of saved it, sort of stumbled over the words, and then she was talking about her generation and inclusion within the country. So I think that is what really cost her, the way that she answered it and the nerves that she was showing on stage when she was answering that question, and prevented her from moving into a top 3. Veronica was asked about advice she would give to somebody that is experiencing an obstacle in life. She basically gave an encouraging answer about no matter what goal it is that you're pursuing, you should go for those dreams and goals, and nobody but you knows what you're capable of accomplishing in life. I thought the answer was pretty safe for a pageant, and it's something that we hear of a lot. I would really have loved to hear her personalize that answer a little bit more. Madison was the first to go for her onstage question, and I think that she vastly improved in top 3 in comparison to top 6. The question that they asked all of the top 3 was in regards to what can we do about violence towards women. I think what really helped her was her reference to it being close to her heart because she's worked with domestic violence victims. She basically just went on to say that she would use this platform as a voice for those who are affected by that. Pretty safe type of answer. I don't know what you guys thought about her answer. Let me know in the comments below. But once again, the same question was asked, and Veronica's answer was that she really believes that in order to help this issue that we need to have good men and women and peace and harmony, and that's how we're going to basically solve this problem. She didn't reference any work that she might have done with victims. I think that hurt her a little bit in that onstage answer. Estefania was one who was slightly more specific, so she said that she believes that these domestic violence traits or violence against women are passed down from generation to generation, essentially that they're being taught, and she believes the best way to address this is to educate others in order to break that cycle. Let's talk about why Madison actually won this pageant, or why I believe that she won this pageant. I know that the results might be confusing for people in the audience or people watching at home because of how she stumbled through that top 6 question and answer. But here's what to consider. You want to think about the girl's overall performance. We don't know what happened in an interview, so that obviously affected her scoring. But aside from that, like I said, she was very present at all times on stage, and the way that she held her composure, even when she struggled through her top 6 question and answer, was very important to note, versus the other contestants did tend to look a little bit more nervous or let those nerves affect the way that they were answering those onstage questions. The other thing that's important is that this is a national competition. That means that she has time to prepare for Miss Universe, and they're not just looking for the girl who won the pageant that night. They are considering who can bring them a Miss Universe title back to Puerto Rico, or at least that's what I believe that they were thinking when they selected her. The reason that you would send Madison instead of our other 2 runners up to Miss Universe potentially, this is what I think they were thinking, which I think is a really good plan. She's a native English speaker, and when you go to Miss Universe, that pageant is held in English. So if she were to make it to a top 10 or a top 5 or anything like that, Madison now has an advantage, because not only is she representing Puerto Rico and she'll have a great team behind her to prepare her for Miss Universe, she is not going to need a translator at Miss Universe. And I think that there is an advantage to fluently speaking English at the Miss Universe pageant, especially within recent years. Not saying that you have to speak English to win Miss Universe, but I want to say that it doesn't hurt you, and I think that when the girls have to use a translator at Miss Universe, a lot gets lost in translation, which can affect how the judges are going to score and select that winner. I think that they were looking at Madison's entire performance when selecting her as the queen, and also taking into consideration that she does speak English, and that will actually be a huge asset for her when she gets to Miss Universe. That's why I think that she was chosen as the title holder that night. That's what I would assume the judges were thinking about. If you guys need extra help though for your own interview questions, if you are a pageant contestant, make sure that you click the description below, because I have a link to my top 20 interview questions to help you prepare for your next pageant. Aside from that, thank you so much for watching this episode. Make sure that you subscribe, hit that notifications button, and follow me on social media at Dani Walker. I'll see you at the next episode.